Welcome to this explainer on shapes in the sky. We've all been there, right? Buckled in, cruising comfortably at 30,000 feet, resting your head against the cool, vibrating plastic of an airplane window. It's a universal, everyday experience for millions of travelers. But, it's also an experience we kind of take for granted as we flip through in-flight movies, catch up on work, or just try to grab some sleep. So today, we're going to take a journey from that window seat and really explore the incredible visual theater happening right beside us.
Honestly, it's so easy to just ignore the view on a long flight. I mean, it's almost pure instinct to pull down that plastic shade to block out the harsh glare, or to just zone out entirely. But there is a hidden world just outside the glass, waiting for you to notice it. If you actually choose to focus and observe, the atmosphere is putting on a completely dynamic show. It's this ever-changing landscape of water vapor and light that is completely unique to that exact geographic coordinate at that very specific moment in time.
So, let me ask you directly, have you ever found yourself totally lost in the clouds? I mean, truly mesmerized, just letting your eyes wander across those endless white landscapes high above the Earth? It is, arguably, the absolute prime environment for daydreaming. When you strip away our usual terrestrial distractions, the buildings, the traffic, all those screens, the sky becomes this giant blank canvas. In fact, studies actually show that environments with minimal visual clutter are prime triggers for the brain's default mode network. That's the neurological state where our best, most creative daydreaming happens.
Just take a look at the sheer scale of the high-altitude atmosphere here. You can practically feel that unfiltered glare piercing through. You've got the sleek, rigid tip of the airplane wing slicing right in on the side, which actually does a great job of anchoring us in reality and giving us a real sense of scale. And right below that wing, just a soft, endless blanket of a flat cloud layer stretching all the way out toward the horizon. It is serene, peaceful, and just feels impossibly vast.
But we have to remember that the Earth's atmosphere is rarely a static thing. There's a really fascinating contrast to look at here. On one hand, you have that beautiful uniformity of the flat cloud deck, those vast horizontal expanses of stratocumulus clouds that look almost like a frozen, tranquil ocean. But on the other hand, you have the sudden, completely unpredictable chaos of vertical updrafts. These powerful bursts of warm air pushing upwards can literally shatter that flat uniformity in an instant, creating these towering, turbulent, and highly localized chaotic formations.
The dramatic transition between those two states is perfectly captured here. On one side, we still have that wide, relatively empty horizon, bathed in all that bright sunlight. It's totally calm. But then, let your eyes drift over to the other view. Framed perfectly within the oval of the airplane window, a sudden, vertical shape has seemingly punched its way right through the cloud deck. It's a bit jarring, isn't it? It completely breaks the visual pattern of that endless flat expanse we were just admiring.
The crucial point to understand here is that human beings are naturally, biologically drawn to anomalies. When something breaks an established pattern, our brains immediately lock onto it. So, as the plane gets closer and closer to this towering structure, and remember, we are flying at hundreds of miles per hour, this atmospheric anomaly simply demands our attention. Our brain immediately shifts gears. We transition from just passively looking out the window to actively inspecting the strange, isolated, vertical shape looming out there on the horizon.
Let's actually break down how we mentally process an anomaly like this, because it generally happens in 3 distinct steps. Step 1, we notice the shape. Its silhouette stands out really sharply against that uniform background. Step 2, we begin to observe the texture. We start looking closely at the light and dark parts, the soft fluffiness, the rigid, cauliflower-like edges of the moisture. And step 3, we just let our mind wander. We instinctively start trying to make sense of the chaos, basically comparing this abstract blob of water vapor to things we already know and recognize in the real world. So let's actually test this process out together as we get a bit closer.
Wow. As we visually zoom in, just look at the detail. This is a massive, highly complex atmospheric formation. It looks almost exactly like rugged, towering mountain peaks, but it's entirely constructed out of fluff, mist, and dynamic air currents. You can clearly see the intricate textures, like the way the bright sunlight perfectly catches the upper ridges, while the inner crevices fall into this thick, heavy gray shadow. It's an incredibly imposing structure, passing right outside the passenger window.
Now, as the plane is actively flying right past it, our visual perspective rapidly changes. This is the distinct beauty of observation in motion. Notice how the changing angle reveals the deeper, heavier shadows at the very base of the structure. We're essentially seeing it slide past the window frame, and that rapid shift in angle gives us a very real sense of just how immensely thick and volumetric this entire column of air and water truly is, especially compared to that thin, distant flat deck lying way out behind it.
But what happens when the lighting changes and shadows take over? Because light and shadow are literally the sculptors of our visual world. As the sun dips lower, or as the plane's specific angle puts the harsh sun directly behind the cloud, all of those bright, fluffy details just vanish. Suddenly, we are left with a stark, high-contrast silhouette, and the entire tone of our observation shifts from majestic to something, well, a little more mysterious.
Before we look at what happens next, we need to talk about pareidolia. This is the human tendency to perceive a specific, often meaningful image in a random or ambiguous visual pattern. Basically, your brain is an incredibly powerful prediction machine that is hardwired for survival. Throughout human evolution, we needed to recognize faces, animals, and potential threats instantly in the brush. So when your brain looks at random chaos, like a heavily shadowed cloud, it immediately goes to work trying to assemble those shadows into something familiar. So look closely at the deep shadows and the jagged silhouette of this backlit cloud. What do you see? Because right about now, that concept of pareidolia is almost certainly kicking in for you. Many people viewing this precise image immediately see a beast, maybe a shaggy dog gazing upwards, or perhaps a sharp, mythological face and profile with a really defined nose, a heavy brow ridge, and an open mouth. The stark backlighting has literally transformed a chaotic burst of a weather updraft into a dramatic, recognizable character that seems to be staring right back at the airplane.
And that really illustrates our final thought for today's explainer. Is it nature painting an intentional masterpiece up there at 30,000 feet? Or is it simply our human minds desperate to find meaning in the randomness? The wonderful truth is, it's a breathtaking collaboration of both. The raw chaos of the Earth's atmosphere provides this endless moving canvas, and our pattern-seeking brains provide the meaning and the story. So next time you're on a flight, do yourself a favor. Don't just close the shade. Look out the window. Embrace the shapes in the sky, let your imagination run wild, and just see what your mind discovers. Thank you so much for joining me today. Keep learning and keep looking up.